My name's Darren.
Hello, I'm Ben.
So welcome to this first video, this first short and sweet video. We're going to be taking a look at Google Slides, which is a really undervalued part of G Suite and is much more versatile than people realise. So I'm going to be taking you through different aspects of creating your Google Slides from scratch, and also how we can insert video and audio into those slides. And Ben?
I'm going to be going through how to add shapes, how to add images and crop those images to fit a shape. I'm also going to be looking at the format options of word art and how to make your slide stand out with that word art styling.
Excellent. And then we'll finish up by looking at some of those additional features that you might want to try out, such as the Explore option, and also some add-ons that you can use to make some interesting slide designs if you're not particularly comfortable with designing your own. So let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do, I'm here in my Google browser in Chrome, and I'm going to come across to my waffle icon here in the top right hand corner, or the application picker, and I'm just going to come down, and here you can see is Slides. So I'm going to click on Slides, and that's automatically going to take me to the Slides homepage. And from here, I can click to start a new presentation, or I can use some of the selected templates, and I can see some of the recent ones that I've used as well. So that's one place where I can start from. Okay. The other thing we're going to look at is how we can do that directly from our drive. So I'm going to open up Google Drive, and I can just come to the New button here and select New, and then scroll down to Slides. Let's do that again. Scroll down to Slides, and again here I've got that same option as before, a blank presentation or one from the templates. But the third option, which I tend to use most often, is actually to just open a window and just type slides.new. And as you can see, mine actually, because I use it so often, if I just type S now, it's so used to me writing it that actually I just type S and enter, and that gives me a brand new Google slide. So first of all, we can see already when we come into our slides, we've got a placeholder and a subtitle holder already in there, and we've got one slide. And over here, we've got some option of themes. So we can scroll through these and see if we've got any particular slide titles or themes that we like. Now, actually, I don't really like any of those, so I actually never use them. You can import themes from elsewhere, but we're going to look at another way of coming up with some nice slide designs later on in the session. So for the moment, I'm just going to close that. And what that does is it just opens the slide up a little bit more for me. Okay. Now, to give this a title, I can just begin to type right here. So I could say Google Slides Demo, for example, because that's the title of what we're doing at the moment. And if I just come up to Untitled Presentation and I click on it, it automatically names it with whatever I've put in that box there. So this slide is now called Google Slides Demo. And it's not until that you've named a slide, then it no longer says Untitled Document, that you can actually share it with other people. So that's a really important part of the sharing process if you want other people to access your Google Slides. Okay. So the next things we're going to look at is the different menus along the top here. Okay. So we'll start on the left, and the first thing we can see is File. So if we click on File, we've got lots of options like New and from Template, again, that we're used to. We can import slides, so we can actually bring slides in from existing decks. We've got the option to make a copy of either the entire presentation or just selected slides. We can download as a PowerPoint or as a PDF or as a JPEG or PNG or a scalable vector. Okay. We can email it as an attachment, although I don't recommend that. We can make it available offline. So if we know we're going to be working in an area where Wi-Fi is sketchy, we can make it available offline. And we've also got our version history, which will show us the different versions of our document. Obviously, this is a brand new one, so there's not much there at the moment. We can rename the document. We can move the folder it's sitting in. We can add a shortcut to our drive so we can find it easier. We can move it to the trash. And one of the other things I like here, we can publish to the web. And we're going to have a look at that later on. Just down the bottom as well, you've got the final couple of bits, select a language, document details, print settings and preview, print, and page setup. And page setup is quite an important one for us. So we're going to look at that first of all, okay? Because your default setup for Google Slides is this 4x3 landscape setup. And when you click on page setup, default 16:9, you can see that you've got standard 4.3, widescreen 16:9, widescreen 16:10, and custom. So there's no immediate option there for a portrait setup. However, if you go to custom, you've got several options in terms of organizing things by inches, centimeters, points, or pixels, and you can randomize that. So what I do in my Google Keep, which hides over here on the sidebar, I have a list of paper sizes, and we can see here that A4 is 210 by 297 millimeters, or 8.3 by 11.7 inches. Okay, so the 8.3 there and the 11.7 there, apply it, and now I've got a portrait setup. Okay, and you can save that as a template if you want, or you can revert back. So you can always click the undo button or Command Z or Control Z if you want to reverse that. And obviously, if you want any other paper sizes, you can do that as well. So I'm just going to revert back to our original slide demo there. Okay. Also along the top here, we've got our edit options with our copying and our pasting and our undo and redo. We've got the view option, so we can see what it looks like in present view. We can see things like the grid view rather than seeing the slides down the side. We can zoom. We can show guides, which are really useful if we want to make sure things add up. And that might be something Ben looks at later on. So for example, I can add a vertical guide in here. And if I wanted to make sure that all of my boxes lined up with the edge, I could make sure that if I include a text box, like I've just done there, I can make sure that it's exactly in line by using those guides. And then I can just take those guides off if I want to. Okay, so I can clear the guides or just turn them off so I can't see them. Okay. You've also got the option for full screen here and to edit the master, which we'll come on to another time. Right. Then we come to insert, and Ben's going to go through this in a lot more detail later on, but you can see there's lots of options here, including animations and links and comments and slide numbers and so on, video, audio, text and image. So lots of different options that Ben's going to take you through. You've also got the option to format text, which Ben's going to look at as well later on, and borders and lines and things like that. And then here you've got the option to duplicate a slide or skip a slide, which is really useful. So if you've got a presentation with 5 or 6 slides and on one occasion you don't want to show one of the slides, you don't have to delete it, you just skip it. And we maybe look at that towards the end. And then you've got various different bits and pieces that you can use in terms of ordering and rotating. And then tools here like your Q&A history, your voice type of speak notes, editing, accessibility settings and things like that, and the activity dashboard, which can be found elsewhere. And finally, before the help button, you've got the option of add-ons, which can be quite useful as well. And then we've got the main toolbar here. So we're going to go ahead now and we're going to start to include some information in our slide. So the first thing I want to do is I want to move this title up slightly. Now, if I start to move that down, that's absolutely fine. It doesn't squash the text, and I can just pick it up and I can drag it. And what you'll notice is you get these nice handy red lines that tell you that you're centered. Okay, so now know that that's in the middle. If I want to increase the size of it, I can just come up here and choose a different font size. So I can go up to slide 60. If I want to change the font, I've got lots to choose from. And if there's a little arrow, you've got further options as well. If I want to make my text bold, I can just click here. If I want to make it italic, if I want to underline it, absolutely fine. If I want to change the color, I can choose a particular color here. I can choose a background color as well if I want. But obviously, you need to bear in mind accessibility and readability. So make sure you highlight the whole text, get rid of that transparency maybe, and perhaps choose a different color. If I want to add in another text box, I can do that. If I want to add in a shape, I can do that. If I want to add in a line, I can do that. And if I want to add in a comment, I can do that as well. So if I'm working collaboratively with somebody, I can just click and add a comment. Okay, so I'm going to click my selector again, and what we're now going to look at is this first title. I would like Ben, who I'm working with, to add his bio to this area, and I'm just going to move that over, and I'm going to create a box there for Ben. I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to make a second version of it. There we go, and I'm going to drag that over there. So actually we're going to have two boxes going, and we can see again those red lines helping me line things up so that I know the text is in line. Okay, there we go. So the two tops are in level with each other. We're going to add a bio here. If I want to add a text edge around that, I can come to the border, and I can choose a border color. So I might choose black, and I can choose a weight, and then I can choose the size of it by increasing the box. So it might come down to here, for example. And then I might want to do the same to this box, but I don't want to have to do all that again. And this is where this paint roller tool gets really useful. Make sure I'm clicked on this box, click on the paint format, and then click on this box, and it automatically brings that formatting across. Okay, equally, if I put this one in here and I decide that I want a different color on that, I want to make it red and I want to make it bold, again, I can roll over that, select it, go to the paint roller, and then roll over this one, and it will do the same for me. So I can copy over some formatting really easily. And then what I'm going to do now is comment on this so that Ben knows what I want him to do. So I've got the option here of tagging Ben into it by using his email address. So I could say, for example, at training with BM, which is Ben's email address. I can tag him in this and say, please add your bio. Okay, and I've got the option to assign that to him, which means it will send him a message, and he'll know exactly what to do there. Okay, so I could assign it like that, and you can see that at the moment it's not shared. So at the moment we've got a single document. If I just take this back, you can see at the top here, this is really helpful little tip. We can see that we've got a padlock visible, which means this document is private only to me. And if I want to share it with anybody else, we need to change that. So as soon as I try and assign this to Ben, it will ask me whether I want to let him comment. So he can comment on it at the moment, but I want him to be able to actually edit it. So I'm going to change that to edit, and I'm going to let him do that. Okay? And it tells me that he's outside my domain, which is absolutely fine. And I'm just going to tick got it. Okay? So that's going to send Ben an email to ask him to do that. While he's doing it, I'm going to quickly add mine in here. Okay? So there we're starting to build our slide a little bit. Now Ben's going to see that and know exactly what I want him to do. But I might want to give him a bit more advice. So I'm going to click over this again. I can either add to the original, so I can add to this, and I can actually do this with voice typing, because I've got this extension called Moat, which means I don't even have to try and type. And you know, we're often saying to students, when things are written down, it can be easily misinterpreted or misunderstood. So by saying it, actually it can be quite useful. So I'm just going to click here. Hi Ben, can you look at my example and then add something similar into this slides demo? And I click done. It thinks about it for me for a little while. It creates for me the note and the actual message as well. And then I can edit it if I want to. So I can edit that to just say explanation. And he can just play this. Hi Ben, can you look at my example and then add something similar into this slides demo? Okay, so a really powerful way of giving advice to people or guidance, particularly if you're working with students. Okay, so that's where we're at. I've shared this with Ben, but actually I want to share it with a wider audience now. We can see, because it's been shared with Ben, that top icon has changed from a padlock to a person with a shadow. Okay, I'm just going to come up here to share again, and we're going to have a quick look at the sharing settings. So we can see at the moment, it tells me that this is shared with Ben. If I come to advanced, it tells me that I'm the owner of the document and that Ben has edit access. I can change that access at any point, and I can also set an expiration date. So I could set him a deadline to be able to do that. And after that point, he would lose that access. I could equally transfer the document to him and make him the owner. And you can do that either with a drop down or for the expiry, you can click on the expiration date. Okay. What we'll also see is you've got the options here to prevent editors from changing access and adding new people, and also to disable people who are commenters or viewers from being able to download it, print it, or copy it, which is really useful if you're dealing with data. Okay, so I might just add a third person in there. I might add in my other account so that I can access it from there. And on that one, I might only want them to be able to comment. I can add a message if I want, maybe just for info, please have a read through. Okay, and I can click that I don't want them to be able to copy it, and I don't want them to be able to do that, and I'll send it. Okay, so that's now shared with my other account as well. Or I can come up here to change, and I can choose from these options. So I can choose that anyone within my domain who's got the link can access it. I can choose that anyone within my domain can access it, even if they haven't got the link. I can choose that anyone can access it, which means they don't need to have a Google account. So that's really useful for sharing with parents. And this one here, public, means anyone on the internet can find it and access it. Okay, and they don't need a Google account either. So if I was to take this one, for example, you can see I then get the option here to decide whether they can view it, comment it, or edit it. If I go with this one, again, we've got the same options. So for schoolwork, I tend to keep inside the domain unless I'm sharing with parents. And for students, it might be that they can either comment or view, and then I would click save. Okay, and I could send this link here. I could copy that and send that to the students. I could copy that into Google Classroom, or I could go into Google Classroom, create an assignment, and then find this document in my drive and assign it that way. Okay, so that's our first kind of look at the slide setup, and we're going to hand over now to Ben, who's going to take you through inserting shapes and images and things along those lines.
Hello and welcome to my part of the video where I'm going to be going through adding and grouping shapes within Google Slides. Now there's two different ways I can add shapes in Google Drive. I could have them parallel and perfect shapes, or I could drag out a shape to my own size and desire. So I'm going to show you how to do both of those. So the first thing you need to do is go up to the navigation bar at the top and click Insert. Hover over Shape and you get four options appear. So you've got shapes, which I refer to as basic shapes, arrows, callouts, and equations. So you can see we've got lots of different shapes to choose from in our presentation. So I'm going to go with a basic square for now. Now you see I get a crosshair appear on my screen. This is where I'd like to start drawing my shape. So I can move that anywhere on the page and I can start drawing my shape from that point. Now, the first way, you can drag out as you want to as a shape in your desire, however you want to make it. You can see each side change the shape on here. It's whatever suits you best. So maybe I like that shape. Okay, but the other way I could do it is go to Insert, Shape again, go to the same shape or another shape, doesn't matter. Hold Shift while you drag it out, and you'll notice all the sides are perfectly the same size, making it a perfect shape. Now this works for triangles, circles, and all different shapes within Google Slides. Okay, so you can make perfect shapes for your presentation. So now I've got two different shapes on here. I've got different format options I've got at the top here. So I've got fill color, I've got line color, I've got the border weight, which I refer to as line width, and the line style as well. So I'm going to use my square as a demo. I'm going to go up and fill color to maybe a blue. I'm going to put the borderline as black, but you can use any color here. And for both of those options, you can also click custom and use a hex number if you've got it as well, which is really useful. Border width, I'm going to go maybe with 4 points to make it have a bit of a border there. And I could choose a different line style, but I quite like my solid line here. Now the great thing about all different shapes in Google Slides is they also act as text boxes. So I could double click on here and type whatever I wanted to in there. So I could say this is a square. Okay, now I've got different text formatting options within my shape as well. So I've got different fonts here. I've got different size of my text. So maybe I'd like to make it a bit smaller. I've got bold, italics, and underlining options at the top as well. Text color, so maybe I'd like to make that white rather than black to make it stand out. I've also got aligning tools, so I could maybe move it to the center of the shape, and I could move it different positions within the shape as well. I've got line spacing if I had more than one line of text in there. I also have numbered lists and bullet points available if I wanted to, and indents to use on the side here. So the great thing about this is once I've typed my text, I can move it around anywhere on the page. It doesn't matter, it all stays together. Now, maybe I decide I like this shape and I'd like to have more of them on my page. Maybe I don't want to do it all over again. The great thing is you can just copy and paste it. So if you're using Windows or Chrome, you click Control and C. And if you're using Mac, it's Command and C. Then to paste is Control and V on Windows and Mac. Windows and Chrome. And on a Mac is Command and V. And you get an exact replica of that shape. You can see on my screen now I have a red line appear. That just means it's lined up exactly with the center of the existing square. So that makes sure both of them are in the same position on the page. Now, grouping shapes is the next best thing in Google Slides. You can group shapes together, so whenever you move one of those shapes, they both move together, so you keep your formatting the same. So an example of this, I'd like to have both of my squares move up a little bit closer to my rectangle here. So the way I'm going to do that in one easy step is click on one square, hold shift and click the other square as well. Then I'll right click and you'll see the group option appear. By clicking group, this now becomes one shape. And if I move this up or around, they all move together, which is really useful. Okay, and also I can resize those as well. Maybe I'd like them a bit bigger now. I can still hold shift and make that bigger or smaller, or I don't have to hold shift. I could just move it out in whatever proportion I want, and the same applies for this shape. Hold shift to make it smaller or bigger in the exact proportion that it is now, or if I don't hold shift, I can move it around and adjust the shape to whatever proportion I think I like. Okay, so those are the different formatting options that we have with Google Slides, adding shapes and grouping shapes. And my next video will be going through word art and formatting options for that as well.
Thanks, Ben. Okay, so now we're going to look at inserting video and audio into our Google Slides. So just like Ben's shown you with inserting shapes and images, we can just, if we want to put a video into our Google slide, come up here to Insert and choose the video option. And if we click on there, we have three options. We can either search YouTube. If we know the URL of the video we want to embed, we can just paste it in there, or we can search our Google Drive as well for any videos that we might want to use. Okay, so rather than do that, I'm going to say, first of all, let's show how easy it is to search. So I want something about Google Classroom. I'm just going to search for that. And you can see here a number of different options or videos that come up around about Google Classroom. Now I've got an option here, there's lots of them. Some are 9 minutes, some are 24 minutes. That doesn't matter at all. I can choose any ones I like. All I've got to do is highlight one. So it's selected and click select. And that's going to drop that into my slide for me. And then I can move it around and replace it wherever I like. I can resize it as well, so I can have it covering up. I could even have it over the whole screen if I wanted to. Okay. But what you'll also notice is as soon as I put this into the screen, I've got the video playback options. Now, if that doesn't appear for you first time round, this is how you get that. Okay. So if you're in your slide and you click on the video, so you get the blue outline, you'll see format options at the top here. And you click on there, and over on this side are a number of options, and then video playback is there. So you'll see there are some options here. We can mute the audio. So if we don't want to be able to listen to the person speaking, so for example, you want to show the demonstration, but you want to explain over the top of it, You can mute the audio. You can have it autoplay when you're presenting. So as soon as that slide comes on as part of your slide deck, it will automatically start playing. You don't have to worry about clicking buttons, which is really useful when doing a presentation. And you've also got the option to stop and start at given times. So you could choose, so for example, there's a long intro here. You could choose to start at 30 seconds, and you might only want the first 30 seconds of the video. You can choose to start and stop at that particular time. Okay, and if we do that, we then come up and click present.
If you have never heard of Google Classroom,
and we can see here that it started at that 30-second point.
Grade assignments, and communicate with your students in a paperless way.
And it will stop at the minute point. Okay, so that enables you to get your students directly to the point of the video, and saves you having to worry about editing a video down. Okay, you can just start and stop at any given point. And if you wanted them to watch two parts of the video, you could start and stop on one slide, then have a duplicate slide that starts and stops at a different point. Okay. The other thing you can do, as we said, is you can bring video in from your Drive or by URL. So if you go to your Google Drive, you might have a particular one that you want to use, and you can bring that in exactly the same way, and you get the same options as well. Okay. And again, you can resize. Now, the thing I really like about this and the ability to embed YouTube videos is just this. I'm just going to move this slide just off the canvas slightly, and I'm going to get rid of that particular video. And what I'm going to do is make this look a lot nicer. So I'm going to come up to insert, like we did with Ben, an image, and I'm going to search the web for a TV screen. Okay. And I'm just going to find one that I like. Maybe this one here. Okay, so kind of modern looking TV screen. And that's going to insert that in there. It's a song. There you go. I'm just going to delete that caption and the one behind it. So just select it, delete. And now I'm going to bring my video back. Now you see it's gone behind the original image. So what I'm going to do is with the TV image here, I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to order and send it to the back. So that puts it as the back of the slide. And then I'm going to bring my video in. I'm just going to resize it a little bit, move it over so it better fits that TV screen. Okay, it's not perfect, but you get the idea. Okay, so I'll show you again. Click on the video and I get the option of the playback. I'm going to have it autoplay when presenting. I do want the sound on, and I want it to start straight away, and it's just a 27-second clip. So that when I start presenting, it automatically is going to start playing. Okay. Now this particular one, we didn't start speaking till about 5 or 6 seconds in. So I might not like that.
Interrupt your normal viewing to bring you.
So we could change that, format the options, and have it start 10 seconds in, for example, and do the same again. Here we go, and present.
Good evening.
And there we go.
Interrupt your normal viewing to bring you some.
So that's inserting video, really, really useful, and just a nice way of presenting it. And the last thing I'm going to look at here before we hand back over to Ben is inserting audio, which didn't used to be a feature that was very much available in slides, and we had to find a way around it. But now it is. So as long as your audio is saved in your Google Drive, we can click Insert, we can click Audio, and we can choose a piece of music or a piece of audio. It might be speech, might be something you've recorded. Add it in there. You can see, you get the choice of whether it starts playing on click or whether it's automatically when you come into the slide. I'm going to choose automatically. You can have the icon visible or not. So I'm going to hide it when we're presenting. We can loop it if we want. We can stop it if we move off the slide. So we're going to put that there. It doesn't have to be actually that visible. So we've chosen to hide it. And it will play from there, and it's got 21 seconds in it. So if I just present, Let's turn my volume down slightly. I suspect this one might be quite loud. If I go to present again, actually I'm going to go to our first slide. I'm going to present from there. Here's the newscast. Good evening. We interrupt your normal viewing.
Now, for the
Here's the
thousands in
audio.
attendance and the millions watching around the world on HBO pay-per-view. Ladies and gentlemen, from Mandalay Bay, Las Vegas.
And as soon as we exit, that audio will stop. So that's how you can add audio into your Google Slides as well. So I'm going to hand back over to Ben now.
Hello and welcome to the next part of the video where we will be going through word art and the formatting options that go with it. So think of word art as clip art. So the easy way to get word art up on your screen is go back to the navigation bar at the top, click insert and go down to word art. Then this box will appear. This is your box to enter the word you'd like to appear on your screen. So for me, I'm going to have demo. You'll see the word demo appears on my screen. Now, I could use shapes, as mentioned in the last video, as a text box, or I could use the title formats that Google Slides already provides to me. But word art just stands out, and I think it looks really sort of organised and tidy on the page. So with word art, we do have a number of formatting options as well, very similar to the shapes that we were talking about in my last part of the video. So by clicking on the demo word itself, so we get the blue dots on the outside of the shape, we can go back to the top. Again, we have the fill color option. We have the border color, the border width, which is line width, and the border dash. As well, we've got different fonts, the bold, italics, etc. So I'd like to maybe make that a blue like that. And again, I can go for a black outline. Have that maybe 4 points. I don't want it as thick as the box that I had. And again, I can choose a different style of line to go on the outside as well. I could also choose a different font. So maybe I like Georgia. Okay, or maybe I decide I don't like that actually, and I'm going to go to Impact. Okay, maybe I really like that, but I could also make it bold and italics if I want to. Okay, and I've got another set of format options over here. So we've got size and rotation. So by clicking on drop down there, you've got the option to rotate it round. You've got the option to flip horizontally, so make it read backwards, or flip horizontally as well, so it reads upside down. You've also got the position tab, which is where you can move it around on the page. I mean, you could just simply drag it around on the screen as well, which I think is just easier to do rather than using that position tab there. You've got drop shadow, so you'll notice there becomes a slight black background to the shape there. Now I can adjust that as well, adjust the color if I want to, so I could choose another color within here, or the custom using the hex numbers as well. Transparency, so how see-through that is. The angle, so do I want it right behind the shape, to the left of the shape, to the right of the shape, etc. I've got the distance, how far out I'd like that shadow to be. Okay, and the blur radius as well. So the blur radius is how much black sort of blur is behind. But again, you can have any color you want there. You also got reflection, so that makes it reflect underneath, as it says on the tin. You've got the distance in which you can move that, so further away from the original shape. You've got the size, so that's how much of the word is visible. And the transparency of that as well. So do you want it see-through? Do you want it not see-through? Do you want it exactly the same as the first word? Okay, so you've got lots of different options you can play with on the word art function. And again, you could have both if you wanted to. So have a play around and see what works for you.
Thanks, Ben. That's really helpful. Well, that brings us to the end of our first video. We hope you've enjoyed finding out more about Google Slides, and we look forward to joining you again. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button and join us next time.